Welcome to Who's Got My Money Ground Game Edition. You guys ready to get your ground game on? Yes. That was pretty weak. Is that the best you got for 2026? All right. I love it. Ground game. What does that mean? I think in Vegas and many other places, I think very often, we as founders, as creators, kind of look outside of ourselves quite a bit instead of realizing that as powerful creators, we have the ability inside of us. What does the word entrepreneur actually even mean? It means to create something from nothing in the French. And so that's the reason why I think that it'd be nice for us to, at the beginning of the year, beginning of the season, before we go out and crush it, that we get a little bit of a reminder of what it's like to do some things a little bit closer to home, both starting inside of ourselves and what is possible when we look a little bit closer. All right, my man. Everybody got a plan till they get punched in the face, right? How many of you guys have seen this quote before? All right. Who would have thought such a valuable piece of advice would have come from Mike Tyson? Probably learned a few things. I'd like to introduce you to a very, very good friend of mine. If you guys don't know him yet, you need to get to know him. Get to know his story. I think it will inspire you the way that it's inspired me very much. And if you guys want, we're going to do a session that goes deeper dive into his story some other time. There's so many incredible people here that come to the city, but also people that actually live here in the city. So please give a warm welcome to my buddy, Mr. Edwin Garcia. You're going to grab that microphone right there as well, because you're going to have to talk into both. This is for amplification. That's for the recording. All right. Okay. You like boxing quite a bit. Come have a seat, buddy. So you like boxing quite a bit. This is both very practical advice and it's very philosophical. Remember, both mics. It is. So tell me about this and why you think that you've kind of learned a few things about this.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Edwin Garcia, and then I own N&J Home Customs. We renovate homes. But one of the things that I met him was in my neighborhood, and he always really inspired how can I come from a better place, right? And this quote right here goes far, knowing that in boxing, one of the things you have to, it's not just being quick with your hands, but you got to know how to work your legs really good, like really good. If you don't work your legs out, you got 1 minute and you don't want to box anymore. And everyone has a plan until they get punched really good in the face. And that's exactly kind of what happened to me. I created in 2012 a auto detailing business, and it was going great. We did a couple SEMA shows until Hurricane Katrina just destroyed my home. I'm not saying that in a hurricane, but it was like it destroyed my marriage, it destroyed my home, it destroyed everything. And from there, where do you go? Like, how do you start? Where can you get up again? So I'm pretty sure you guys see in the news right now, there's a lot of going on with immigration, right? Like a lot. So that happened to me. What you see in the news happened to me, right? And everyone goes, oh, well, he was a criminal or something. No, it doesn't happen like that. I get to hug my kids for the last time. It's 2017, March 9. And I said, listen, I don't know when I'm coming back, but I'm coming back. And my kids didn't see me for 3 years and a half. 3 years and a half, I get into thrown into Clark County Detention Center, which is down the street. And it was just a whole entire, it's a whole entire chaos going on. And you're just trying to create a plan, but every time you create a plan, it doesn't work. And you're like, what's going on? I can't get up. I can't get out of here. How can I do better? So I'm trying to take care of attorneys, take care of my house, take care of my kids, all that from the inside. And that's one of the things that plan doesn't come through, that you have in your brain that is going to come through. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. So now I'm in Pahrump. And then, so one of the strategies that Homeland Security stuff has is that they want to destroy you mentally, physically, emotionally, and make sure you don't exist. So, but I fought them. My mom helped me, and first of all, thank God for that. right? And one of the things they like to see is that you have a clean record. They want to make sure you're part of the community. You always pay your taxes and all that. That's just the basics to trying to fight it. And one of the things going in there, I told myself, well, if I'm in this situation, this dark place right now, I'm going to use it towards me. I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to make myself a better person. No matter where you at, you got an opportunity to become better. So I didn't use it against them, or I didn't put excuses to like deny myself or play that victim game. I said, no, I'm going to use this for opportunity to become better, wiser, or learn from it, you know. So every state they transfer me to, I learned the culture, I learned the study, I learned the criminal and the immigration side of the law, because I want to become better, you know. And I came here when I was 9 years old, and I love this land. I love this land because this is the land of opportunity.
So at what point did the government realize they'd made a mistake? It's not funny, but I mean, it's like so crazy what you experienced and having to rebuild and start all over after building a business and do it again. After not having any ability to do much of anything.
They don't really like to admit it. They don't like to admit it. It was at the turning point. I'm in an airplane about to get deported. I'm in an airplane just about to hop on it, and the Board of Appeals actually called my attorney and says, we made a mistake. I'm like, wait, what?
4 years.
Almost 4 years. Yeah.
Yes. So one last thing I want to say, and if you guys are interested in this, we will do a whole nother session. That he's got so many unbelievable stories. I think he's going to write a book someday. What I was going to say about it, though, is dang it, I just lost my train of thought, is... No, yeah, but he got a lot of that. No, I mean, he had a plan, and he's a spiritual person, so he felt that God had another plan for him, and he kind of accepted that he needed to go through that experience to be where he's at today. That wasn't the point I was going to make, but anyway, for those of you guys that know our philosopher friend, Mr. Mike Tyson here, maybe some of you guys will remember this. How about that? How many of you guys played this? Right? Cool. All right. So how many of you guys know the business story behind this? So when Nintendo did the deal with Mike Tyson on this, he wasn't a champion yet. And I don't know that much about boxing, but I know that he came in and he was
trying.
He was a tornado. He just mowed down everybody. I think he had a lossless record that first year. Anyway, so they cut a deal with him. How many of you guys know how much money Nintendo cut a deal with him on? $50,000 up front, okay? And then over time, who do you think made more money, Nintendo or Mike Tyson?
Nintendo.
How much money did Nintendo make?
Millions.
Okay, 1.2 million is what Mr. Mike Tyson won and got over time. They made 1.7 billion on Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
And Mike's gotten himself into some trouble over the years and stuff. He's had to zig, he's had to zag. But I think this is some of the greatest startup advice I've ever heard in my life. Everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the face. And so we talk a lot in these sessions about adaptability, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Edwin made another point. He's had me sit down and watch boxing matches with him, and I'm not understanding really what's going on, and he's breaking it down for me. He's explaining to me, hey, by the way, you see the way the legs are here? You see how he's setting up triangles and angles, right? And so, again, you're like, ground game, why are we talking about boxing? Because boxing fundamentally starts with the legs, guys. It starts with your footwork.
Foundation.
If you look at Michael Jackson, how many of you guys love Michael Jackson? That should be everybody raising your hand. There's nobody like him. Incredible. His footwork was out of this world. Like everything else he did started with the feet, the ground game. Yep. All right. Here we go. I got to do this because if we're talking about Mike Tyson, we got to talk about some Street Fighter. This was a Street Fighter. This was a bad guy. This is Balrog. How many of you guys remember this guy? Balrog, right? He was a boxer, and look where he was. Vegas, baby. The Golden Nugget?
Golden Nugget.
Yes. All right. Sweet. Okay, Mr. Edwin, we're going to have you back up here soon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it.
We're going to move on. Thank you. All right. How many of you guys know MMA since we're here in Vegas? Mixed martial arts. Okay. This one that's on the left here that I'm pointing to on this left. Stage right, I guess. What is that called? What submission hold is this? It's called a rear naked choke. Okay, what do you notice about this? What's going on with the fighter that's submitting the other fighter? You see, he's tapping. See that with his hand? The fighter that's behind him, what's going on with his legs? You see how he's got his legs wrapped around him and he's bending his body backwards? Yeah, that's not a fun one. That'll knock you out. Yeah, that'll knock your lights out. Okay, what about this one? What's this called over here? Arm bar. This one hurts a lot. And sometimes the fighter doesn't want to admit that he's submitted and something snaps, right? These fighters go to the very edge. See how he's got his legs wrapped around him? Ground game, look at that. Now, why am I bringing this up? I think even Edwin, even though he's more of a boxer dude, would admit that when the strikers, which is the guys that like to hit, like to do the knockouts in MMA, when they first came on the scene and these Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys came on the scene, this was not every fighter knew how to do all this. Now, every single mixed martial arts fighter must have ground game. They either have to have a wrestling background or they have to study this. Because at some point, most of these fights end up on the ground. And then this is what ends the fights. Sometimes you'll knock somebody out, and that's always really exciting. But holy crap, man, the subtlety of moving your body when you can't see anything and you're twisting around and you're sweating to death and you're exhausted. Does this sound like building a startup? Yeah? Okay, that's what I thought. Submissions. And you got to do whatever you can to not get submitted. In the startup world, it's the art of not getting submitted. It's the art of failing, but failing forward and not getting stuck where you can't continue to move forward. All right. Let's talk about our ground game. You guys are wondering why we're talking about this. So, how many of you guys feel like you really understand fundraising in the room? Not too many hands? Okay, that's fine. How many of you guys would be surprised to know that the vast majority of capital is raised locally to the city that you live in? Yeah, all of your hands should go up because most of you guys, when I've talked to you, act like the capital's everywhere else, but not here. Now, I will say, Las Vegas, because it's in Nevada, it's an exodus state. Nevada's an exodus state. What does that mean? That means if you're about to make a bunch of money, you find yourself magically living in Henderson or Summerlin, right? You're about to exit your company for $100 million, right? Well, there's 4 if you want to be technical with Wyoming, but it's Texas, Florida, and Nevada. This is where all of the startups want to move once they've exited, because they have a bunch of money. Come on in. We'll find a seat for you over here on this couch. Good to see you.
Sunshine and taxes.
Sunshine and taxes. So the reason this is important, guys, is you think you know the capital that's here, but there is so much capital hiding out. And this is true in almost every market, but especially here. This is a cowboy state. This is the place you move to be forgotten about. There's more family offices here than most of the other markets that are out there. They just are quiet. They're waiting to be activated. Now, you shouldn't just be thinking about family offices, and we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, proximity to effect. You guys hear me talk about proximity effect a lot, which is your proximity to capital exponentially changes your likelihood to raise and, much more importantly, exit as well. I won't bother to break all this down. You guys can see it, but the further you go away from your city, if you do not have a network in the city you're trying to raise from, or someone that is basically giving you a warm intro and kind of giving you the thumbs up, means you're exponentially less likely to raise from them. Now, we all know that there's 3 markets that are predominantly responsible for the majority. Good to see you, buddy. That there's 3 markets that produce the majority of the fundraisers: Silicon Valley, New York, and Boston. But guys, in the beginning, you're not probably trying to raise from those types of groups, especially not in your pre-seed and your seed rounds. So go to those markets and leverage those markets and expect that you could potentially raise from those markets when you're a little further along. I think you should be starting closer to home. Okay, if I'm going to make it real simple, smaller checks are easier to get much more locally. Much easier to get in the beginning. And if you decide to go somewhere else, you will probably get, I'm sorry, I said that backwards. Smaller checks are easier to get when you go further afield. The closer you are at home, the larger the check. And if you decide to go somewhere else, you'll end up having to raise more rounds, which means more complexity. And that could be a good thing if you're a very skillful founder and you know how to stack the right capital and the right relationships into your venture. But that is not most founders. Most founders don't even know what capital stack is. We've covered that pretty extensively here at Who's Got My Money? So I guess what I'll say is local is king. Local is king. Many of you guys are really looking for an angel investor, and angels, you could say, well, Kurt, I've seen a bunch of rounds that are raised here and there, wherever, and they're not in the city. Cool. Who are you trying to raise from? This is where you start to become more fundraising fluent, when you understand where the capital is hiding out. And if we're talking about angels, angels predominantly, 80-85% of the time, raise locally. They invest very locally. They know the area. Think of it, guys, if you're a real estate investor or you're doing hard money loans, you usually don't invest outside of a tri-state region. Why? Because the market you're investing in matters. You need to understand what's happening with the physical real estate, what's happening with the commerce. This seems to be very common sense to most real estate entrepreneurs that are raising money, but when it comes to founders, they think, well, I'm building a tech company, I guess it doesn't matter. No, they have to trust you, and they trust you if they see you and they could experience it and you're close. It makes the due diligence process much shorter. The other thing I was going to say, guys, here is when they live much closer to you, that means they see how you operate at all times. Are you enrolling? How much of a leader are you? Are you a community builder? We've talked about the 5 key stakeholders that are necessary to make an ecosystem really, really successful and create that network effect that Silicon Valley does so well. Well, if you're raising local, that means you need to be making things happen locally for your venture and probably for other individuals to where there's a net positive, like a tractor beam coming towards you, right? So we've talked about this as well. Okay. So, Las Vegas, baby. I think most of you guys are completely and totally undervaluing what this city has to offer you as an entrepreneur, as a founder, and also as an investor. I've been living here for almost 15 years. I could live anywhere I want. I could be in Utah, which has, I would argue, a much more advanced ecosystem than here. I wrote most of my checks in Arizona as well. But this city has something to offer that no other city in the world, other than maybe Dubai, has to offer, and that is access. For the last 15 years, I've been breaking bread, which is the best possible place to pitch, is from the dinner table when you're not pitching. I've been breaking bread with the heads of state of all the different verticals in business. They all come to our fine city. And so I think that there's a superpower you can develop around identification, relationship, and then that follow-up feedback loop in leveraging who comes to our city. Okay, I'm going to have, really quick, because we're short on time, I'm going to have my friend Deanna come up here really, really quick. She's from another country, as you guys may know. I'm going to grab both of these mics. Here we go. Come hop up here with me. So you could live anywhere, both mics. Yeah, okay. You could live anywhere. You choose to live in Vegas, and you are kind of like you're like the queen of these international connections in all these different countries, right? You're from Serbia, but you're always with some head of state somewhere or whatever I see. And so why would you choose to build here? Because again, we could take this conversation in a direction where we're talking about all the international opportunities, but they're coming here. And you've chosen to situate yourself in the middle of all that. So can you speak into that? Because I really want to drive this home. Because I can tell you, the city's been very good to me when I've been willing to put in the elbow grease to show up at many of these events and build these relationships. Like at CES, for example, I am usually with all of the people that run all the startups and all the funds in other countries. And I can tell you the kinds of things they say. But anyway, back to you.
Thank you, Kurt, and I love how spontaneous you are. Like we haven't talked about this, and so actually, yeah. So we did move 7.5 years ago from Slovenia, with living amazing careers over there and a great lifestyle. Being close to Italy, 1 hour to have a lunch over there or a cappuccino. Then moved to Slovenia from Serbia, and I also did live in the United Arab Emirates that you just mentioned a few minutes ago, 20 years ago. So my whole life has been like in the international affairs, economic development, and I got the green card at the lottery, like State Department diversity program. And at first, I really didn't want to move to the United States, as my husband has had a successful career over there in Slovenia. The kids were born in Slovenia, great lifestyle, as I said, and a healthy environment, the green capital of the European Union. But I wanted to try. I wanted to be challenged, and we did move to Vegas, knowing only 2 persons here. My connections were mainly in DC.
Now you know everyone. So explain how you did that.
So really, it it was super easy to get immersed here and also to get connected with those international cities and locations that I used to live before. So how I ended up knowing everybody, because I was, I use LinkedIn. I attended one event talking about export and financing, learned about like a new position with the Governor's Office of Economic Development, not even knowing who the governor was back then, and I got that job. So that job over there, here local in Vegas.
It hurts. It doesn't hurt to be awesome. That helps when you do a really good job at the job, right?
Thank you. And I think somehow stars did align. Like first day in the office, like Slovenian embassy reached out, and then we started interactions, bringing delegations, startups to Europe and hosting them here in Vegas. And everybody does come and want to come here. We are really amazing brand. And you have a great slide over there, 22,000 plus conventions and trade shows. Everybody's here. Last week CES, over 148,000 people. Like also in my current line of work with the federal government, we are working with US embassies and consulates around the world. They bring foreign buyers here for different conventions or just sales trips. So it's really amazing, like how you can get connected, stay connected, and love. And Vegas is also awesome. Like today, I'm in a soccer tournament. I'm a soccer mom. Then my kids love it. We love Chinatown and food. Like I used to pitch like Nevada and Vegas to many foreign governments and business delegations, and now I call many of them friends. And everybody really love to come here and do business here.
So for those of you that are going to be watching this content, I want you to be thinking about the city that you're in, the region you're in. What are the superpowers that city has? We're going to play up, because we're not short on Vegas pride here. We're going to play up the Vegas opportunities, which I think any startup actually should be leveraging coming through the city for that access thing, that hospitality thing that Vegas does so freaking well, best in the world at. But every region has verticals that it's known for, even as far as what the ecosystem is great at supporting. And for many years, people asked me as an investor, which verticals do I believe in for the state? And for a while, I wasn't really sure. But about 3-4 years ago, I started saying that there was about 5 that I really thought, and we can do a lot of things well, but there's 5 that I really thought made the sense. Yes, well, thanks for the layup. First was, we have a complete lithium supply chain here. So as a lithium and EV investor, this is the only state in the US where from the ground all the way to a finished product we have.
From extraction to recycling.
Yeah. Second, I think it's pretty clear that we're really good at hospitality and entertainment. So I think projects in that space make a ton of sense. Nothing new here. I believe medicine. I believe we have a lot of opportunities on the medicine and healthcare side, being in this Rocky Mountain region. Sports and entertainment, sports tech.
We also have Shaq here in the audience.
Shaq, hello.
Shaq was helping us also with the healthcare session when it comes to the Leadership Las Vegas program. So I strongly believe in the medical court here and anything about health tech as well.
Yeah, I agree. We've got some cool things. Shaq is awesome. If you guys don't know him, make sure you get a chance.
And Melissa too. Yeah, now I see Melissa.
Yes, and Melissa doing the good work of making sure the government's talking to the startups, which doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's because of him. So we thank him so much for that. What's the 5th one? And this is one that I think people didn't understand and maybe still don't see, but content. I really believe this city is the best city in the world to create content in. There's no shortage of exciting opportunities. Like every time I leave, it's great to go experience something, and then I come back and I'm like, man, we get to do everything here. It's just insane. Yeah. It's just like you leave for a second and everyone's like, oh my gosh, CES, I'm so tired. I'm like, bro, we do this every single week. This is a marathon.
Yeah. There is an NAB coming up, like National Association of Broadcasters.
Which used to be about broadcasting, radio, all that. Now it's about podcasting. Now it's about content.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you want to share with them?
Enjoy Tech Alley and listen to Kurt.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Kurt.
Okay, all right. Mr. Ben Lasky from Hunter Marketing is going to come join us.
Thank you, Kurt.
Okay, Ben's building a bunch of projects. I didn't mean to skip to that. I'm sorry. So, how many of you guys know what MICE is? What's that? What's that? Okay, MICE is meetings, incentives, conventions, and events. Or experiences, whichever you prefer, because it's Vegas, right? Okay, so this is an acronym for those that are in the event business, right, that constantly do gatherings. Can anyone guess what one of my favorite I go to over 100 a year. One of my favorite conventions is IMEX.
AVM?
I heard that. I'm not going to answer that. IMEX, what is IMEX, and why would IMEX be here of all places? So IMEX is the place where all the people that do events and do large gatherings do their event. Now, why do I love it? Because they have so much food. It's awesome. Every freaking country. You got Colombia, you got all my favorite Latin American countries and stuff lined up. You got Jamaica, you got all the islands, you've got all the European, and it's just awesome. They treat us very, very well. Why do they spend so much money on those of us that attend? Why is it different than other conventions? Because they know that we can decide for their whole country or for their region in the country that they're in, whether they're in Argentina or whatever. We decide who the higher end events and experiences get to come and actually do those opportunities and experiences there. So I want to bring that up because if a group that's doing, and they do this IMEX in Frankfurt in Germany as well, which Frankfurt is very different from Vegas. I was just there. Why would they choose to do it in Vegas? Because this is the place that is the best in the world at that. And again, I think that because we live here, we sometimes forget these things. Okay, we're going to go over some stats real quick. You're going to give me your commentary, and then I want you to talk about your project and why that is. Okay, 22,000 meetings a year. This isn't just conventions. This is all the meetings. This is all the smaller stuff you might not hear unless you're in the know. 22,000. Let that sink in. Ask yourself, how much time am I spending in my ground game leveraging the fact that I'm a local and these people are coming to me? You want to chase after somebody else in capital in another city when these people are coming to you? How many of the conventions, 4,000, have investors at them, by the way? Every single event has investors in that industry. I know, I've been to so many of them over the last 15 years. And investors tend to find other investors pretty quickly. It's kind of cool how that happens. Okay. We heard a story about how Vegas did not do so well in the last year. Numbers are down, blah, 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 whatever. Yeah, some of that's true. When Canadians and Mexicans are not able to come because of certain choices administrations make. And I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just American. That's what I love. I'm grateful that I'm an American. I'll say that. So we were down 7.6%, which, guys, that's like 10 million people. That's a lot of freaking people to be down, right? But I'm going to explain to you why that doesn't really matter here in a second. Okay, anybody guess what this 7.6% down versus 0.6% thing means? What is that? 7.6% down for entertainment and hospitality and people that are coming here to play and to party. 0.6% down for those that want to come do business here. That means that it was largely unchanged. So whatever you're hearing, understand that people still know that Vegas is the place to come and do business. Why are they coming here? I don't know what every single person's coming here for, but I can sum it up in one sentence. To consummate business. They're coming here to close deals. How many of you guys have been on the Strip and seen the billions of dollars of deals that get closed at night during dinner and Vegas gets no credit for it? It happens every single day on the Strip. Adam, my buddy Adam's up here. He's saying that. He's like, yeah, I've done that this week. He goes, that's every week for me when I'm here. Absolutely. And that's a New Yorker saying that, by the way, right? So not bad. Okay, and then this 16% number, that is what we're expected to do. The numbers on the business side are expected to go up 16% this year. So whatever you're hearing about, hospitality, I'm not saying that's untrue, but it's not changing the opportunity that is here. And right here, the 350%. Why does that matter? What's that number? That's the amount of money that somebody that's coming here to do business spends versus someone that comes here to party and then be entertained. There's nothing wrong with being entertained. We want you and your family to come have a great time in our city. But that should be a startling number for you guys. 3.5 times. They spend way more freaking money here because they're here to close business. So ask yourself if that is not a target-rich environment, and as we go into 2026, as we go into the convention season, are you thinking about how you can be targeting and intercepting individuals on the way in? Maybe you are the person that rolls out the red carpet for the individuals that are coming to town. Our city is so busy, and I've had conversations with LVCVA about this, LVGEA about this. They're not rolling out the red carpet like I think we could. I understand it's a tough job to do, but you could do that. So anytime somebody comes, when the family offices call me, I do whatever I can to make sure that they get what they need when they come here. When an exited founder comes here, I want them to have a great experience so that they see what we see. The Strip is not all of Vegas. We've got all these amazing mountains and all this awesome stuff. But yes, the Strip is freaking awesome for what it produces in opportunity and relationships. And if you're not a relationship-driven person, you probably shouldn't be a startup founder, in my opinion, because it is all about relationships and adding value. Okay, Mr. Ben, you've done marketing for a bunch of people. We really agree on this concept of Don't build it, if you can't sell it first, right? Since you do the marketing for a lot of these companies. So of all the projects that you could choose to take on, since your company's busy doing marketing clients, why would you choose to build a convention website? What got you thinking about all this? What can you share with them to give them a new perspective on how they should be thinking about this?
We're looking at markets to be served. First of all, everything you said about Vegas, 1,000% believe in. And we've been building, aside from client work, we've been building Vegas-centric sites for years. So we have a business calendar for the city, Network Vegas. We have a tech calendar for the city, Tech Vegas. We've been looking at the convention space and seeing nothing but opportunity. Even if you grant that it's a down year last year, the next couple of years, there's obvious headwinds. You're still talking about 5.5 to 6 million people a year. You're still talking about some of the highest spending individual visitors, plus the entire ecosystem that goes around it. The number of billions of dollars in the convention industry and the people that are adjacent to that, it's staggering. The number of jobs, it's tens of thousands of people working directly or indirectly from these large conventions. Our feeling was that obviously the LVCVA is an amazing organization, the LVGEA as well, but they're operating at the enterprise level. And they're big game hunters. They have to sell the city. They're trying to get the major venues booked. They're really trying to push things at that stratospheric level. But below that, there's not really something that was serving the operators and really talking to the visitors. And that's where we felt like there was an opportunity. That's where we're building a more custom directory for that, for the exhibitor, attendee, the organizer, and also for these independent operators to have a venue that would help them to get discovered.
How many of you guys feel like there's an opportunity to validate and verify your product before you try to actually build it by leveraging all the people that are coming to Vegas? Yep, lots of hands, absolutely. And this is the hill I'm willing to die on as a fundraiser, as an investor, as someone that's run very large accelerators, is founders don't know the secret to being successful in building a startup, and that is, do not build it if you cannot verify the market wants to buy it. It sounds very, very simple, but because people are watching Shark Tank and watching episodes of Silicon Valley on Netflix or something, they don't understand that you have to actually have customers, otherwise you have a hobby. So do yourself a favor. In the age of AI, guys, now is the rise of the non-technical founder. So now the only thing that matters is your ability to do GTM, go-to-market. And he's telling you that you have a tidal wave of individuals and relationships and opportunities that are coming to the city every single month, and you could be intercepting them. You could be reaching out to them. Not only that, who do they know? And if you're enrolling enough as a founder, if you've got strong enough ground game, imagine what investors you could unlock through their networks. As we've talked about a lot, the relationships and resources you need are sitting in the warm market of these individuals and other founders that are coming to the city. So I try as much as possible to be an ambassador of Vegas when people are coming saying, what do you need? How can I connect you to them? Because that's me putting deposits into the relationship. That's me investing into the relationship before there's any, ask for utility or anything in return. Okay, what else have you seen on the convention side as far as the upsides, where founders might be able to be thinking about their ground game in a different way than they have so far? I mean, it's crazy, guys. I rarely hear a founder bring up how they're leveraging this for the success of their venture. Guys, when I go to LA, people cannot be bothered to drive 15 minutes. I'm in New York, it's probably even worse. I'm in Miami, I'm anywhere. The minute I say I'm in Vegas, they're like, I'll be there next week. They'll get on a plane, they'll come here, and because of the energy of Vegas and like anything goes here, it creates like a lack of friction, and it chills people out, and then we're breaking bread and deals are getting done. I've never seen anything like it anywhere else. Even Dubai, I think, is more stiff and formal and showy in some regards, and we're going to get into Dubai here in a minute. But it's been incredible to watch the business development opportunities the minute we're at dinner. I had this famous author, and he was like, hey, you need to start writing a book called Third Dinner, because I would go to 3 dinners a night when I first came here, or conversations at midnight or something. So tell us more about the convention leverage.
Well, I don't know if I'm quite touching your point, but you see a lot of people who either exhibit or attend without a strategy and without understanding what they're trying to accomplish or who they're trying to attract or connect with.
Yeah, double click on that. So give us more information. Like, help us. Do you have like a framework of how you like to approach doing these conventions? Because guys, they are exhausting, right? And it's overwhelming, overstimulation, right? So what has been helpful for you? Do you have a framework for that, for the strategy?
Well, you want to know where are the events outside of the convention that are satellite events.
That's the gangster move right there. There is always, and we host them all the time at Venture House and stuff like that, these piggyback events, right? Mm-hmm. If you can't get into the conference because it's either too expensive, don't have the right relationship, or don't want to deal with parking and all this stuff that we are very first world problem in Vegas, right? Oh, parking, $2. Why would I do that? So going to these piggyback events, these side events, it automatically engenders and creates more intimacy at these other events. So that's awesome. Love that.
Walking a show floor without a plan, not having looked into who you're trying to connect with beforehand.
I think an email to them saying, hey, I'm going to be coming to your booth.
I think you have to do more than that now because it's so easy and common that you have to go above and beyond. You want to have something to offer people of value, and I don't mean Bic pens, branded pens, and little swag. I mean something of real value that you can offer. I'm seeing that people exhibit without a plan. How many times do you walk by a table like somebody's sitting there like that? That is not a person that's poised for success.
So we're going to do this live. I'm going to demonstrate this to you guys live right now. You guys want to see how I like to roll? Cool? All right. Here we go.
You're not going to hit me, are you?
So, yeah, Ben's worried about what I'm going to do to him. I'm just going to come over here for a second.
There was a lot of choking earlier.
So this is the kind of stuff that I do. I find out what the person really loves, and I give it to them. Such a crazy concept, I know, right? All right, I need Mr. Adam to come down to the stage, please. Mr. Adam Grill. So many of you guys know I funded a bunch of companies, one of them.
Mike?
What to say?
You mean to hold your mic?
No, we got that. Oh, sure, actually here, yeah. Okay. This is my buddy from New York. Thank you for that.
Close to the mic.
Yeah, well, for that one. This one I care more about. You said you're size 10, right?
There you go.
All right, here we go.
You gave me shoes.
He's like, you gave me shoes? Well, I didn't just give you shoes. I got you some badass shoes, I think.
Yeah,
So you can take a look at this. Some golf shoes when you're out schmoozing. Right, there you go. Now, Adam may or not be a shoe guy. That wasn't really the point. Here you go, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Hopefully you like those.
I do.
But I did this last week for someone. I took a look at their shoes. Somebody from Abu Dhabi. Now, this is not meant to brag, guys. This is just, I want you to be thinking beyond an email, right? I took one look at his feet and I knew this guy's a shoe guy. I'm not a shoe guy. You can tell when it's a shoe guy, right? They got the Gucci shoes or whatever, stuff that most men were never going to want, right? I was like, oh, this guy's super into it. And I could tell he had not had the greatest experience here in Vegas because of some things that had happened. He'd sponsored some events, whatever. And so I said, I have to meet you somewhere, because I got something for you. We'd already met, sat down, done dinner, whatever. And so you should have seen the look on this guy's face when he opened up this box. Like for him, that was like, this guy has 15 Ferraris. Do you think he needs the freaking shoes I gave him? No, he doesn't. But I guarantee it was the most memorable thing he had happen to him during CES. Because I thought very carefully about how can I build this relationship with him. Adam, do you have any examples, before I have you head back to your seat, do you have any examples of, here, I can grab this from you.
Yep.
Do you have any examples of where you've leveraged this? You guys have clients all over the world where you've gone the extra mile to do the research, find out what they care about, and then deliver something that makes you stand out from everybody else.
A couple of times, for sure. But we're mostly on the other side of that. They're bringing us things because they want to.
Wouldn't that be nice?
But to be fair, I do a CES to look at everything.
So you're used to this, like you said.
Oh, yeah. No, I am. I get gifts all the time. I like gifts. Please, feel free.
He's open for business.
Well, yeah. But I want to your point about Vegas, all absolutely true. New York has all that too, and a higher concentration of capital, and an ever-present every imaginable niche market for the thing you're going to sell that actually exists in that city.
So
which
here's what
makes
I-
a fundamental difference of how you do
Here's the
things.
thing I want to annotate about what he's saying, though. If you go to New York without somebody that has ground game, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Connect with the person in that city that has the ground game going on so that you can get connected to. So it's the super connector. It's the person that has all the relationships, that they've already unlocked them all. And when they bring you to somebody, it is a world of difference. It's a warm handshake. It's them co-signing. It's them transferring trust. Anything else?
Lots of things, but it's your show. What do you want me to
Okay.
talk about?
No, I think that's good for now. We're going to get back to Ben, but
Okay.
awesome. All right, there you go, buddy. Fit that in your suitcase.
Yeah, we just discussed.
All right, conventions. So, we're going to go through this. So why did I do this pie chart thing here? So this is what was claimed last year, 36 million visitors, which is a substantial amount down from the year before that. Cool, we were in the well into the 40 plus range. 6 million, that's the business. I don't think this is an accurate number at all, but I want to be conservative here so I can really drive the point home. 6 million, that's the business visitors, okay? Entertainment and leisure is this big dark blue thing. This light blue thing is all the business visitors that come. And that slice, I'm just saying, man, if you could just claim, and don't make the mistake of thinking you're going to claim 1% with your startup. That's a different conversation. 1% of your startup is billions and billions of dollars. But I think when it comes to, over time, building the relationships inside of certain verticals, I think it's absolutely possible to go after 1%. Because you're going after the concentrated relationships at the top of the food chain for a lot of these companies and for these different verticals. Now, it takes some time to build this skill set, but I can get to almost anybody I want to if I'm focused on it when they're coming to Vegas. Because I know the city better than them. I know how to make sure they have a great experience. By the way, guys, so many of them tell me, these $100 million companies, $1 billion companies, they tell me that the second biggest reason they come to Vegas is to have their teams do off-site experiences and all that. So I make sure I can help deliver those experiences for them. Hey, let me connect you to somebody, right? This is part of the reason we got the venture house properties in the beginning, is we knew that if they could choose between a bunch of hotel rooms, they'll choose one of our 10-bedroom or 20-bedroom houses. And so we designed the houses where there's a restroom for every bedroom. That's not normal in a house, right? You're a construction pro. Why do we do that? Because they were designed for conventions and events and masterminds, and obviously, first and foremost, us stimulating the venture ecosystem here in Vegas. So what do you think about this? Using the tools that you're building so that people can get access to this 1%.
What do I think?
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. I think it's an amazing opportunity. I think that this is some of the most lucrative visitors that do come to town. The average convention visitor spends $1,500. That doesn't cover what the company spent to put the convention. You know, the amount of money spent on a convention floor is astronomical. The adjunct meetings that go on, and then also the entertainment options that are nowhere else.
If you guys know how expensive, if you're at a main convention and you understand how much one company is spending on a booth, it's usually in the
Well, you
six
mentioned
figures.
IMEX.
Yeah.
That's toward the higher end of even
It
that
is.
number.
Yeah. So, guys, in a world of having clients, don't choose broke clients. Choose the clients that have money, and you have to have money to come to Vegas to do these shows. That's the bottom line. And again, I know this sounds like really simple stuff, but this is the reason why we have to get back to the basics, right? We look at boxing and say, oh, they're great with their hands. Cool, what's going on with their legs? This is the first place they get tired, is in their legs. They have to support themselves, and they have to be on the balls of their feet, and they have to be light, and they have to be fluid, and they're back and forth. Guys, try that for 15 minutes when you think somebody's about to knock your lights out. It's way more tiring than you think. And I think that you have to be on your feet when you're building your venture as well. Any other parting thoughts, Ben, when it comes to conventions and why you've chosen to make this your focus?
I just reiterating that I just couldn't be more excited about Vegas in general.
Yeah.
Even Vegas under severe headwinds is just a powerhouse.
Okay, don't underestimate it, guys. Thanks so much, Mr. Ben Leifsky from Hunter Marketing. Okay, next. Some of you guys know the UAE government partnered with us to have quite an experience. This is all the founders on behalf of the entire United States, no pressure. We were chosen to bring American founders over to the UAE for the largest technology conference in the world, which is GITEX. It is over twice the size of CES. It has an extra 200,000 people, 260 if I'm being technical, than CES does. And CES was the biggest convention of its kind in the world for a very long time. This is some of the cool tech. They've got helicopters. I know all of you guys want to get your Magnum PI Miami Vice on, so there you go. This is one of the buildings there. It's a museum, actually. Freaking amazing to see this thing in person. I mean, seriously, really, really cool. And I'm not even a buildings person. I'm a mountains person. And then we've got some of the crew. This is a founder here that did $100 million in his last business, sold it, and is now building missiles that shoot down drones. Tell me that's not freaking cool. I think that's awesome. This is my sister that's right next to me. Freaking badass. She's had some exits. Heather's a really incredible person, and I've been really grateful to have so many amazing experiences with her. When the family offices meet her, they're like, where did you find this person? I'm like, well, she's my sister. But she's been an amazing student, and she just has a quality to her I can't even explain, and I'm not saying that because she's my sister. She's raised $150 million in the last couple of years. She did $80 million in the last year. And that's not an easy thing to do, especially when you're a little bit new to the game, but she is playing the game, that's for sure. And then you guys know who this is, right? Miss Alicia? All right, give us a round of applause. Miss Alicia Mejia is going to come up to stage. If Alicia had not come last minute on this trip, it would have been a nightmare. It was very challenging for many reasons. Logistics, everyone's tired, 2 weeks of events that we had planned. Government's not communicating everything. The convention's massive. It's October and it's still hot, right? And she came and ran all of our ambassadors and also ran all of our startups and was given almost no prior anything, and she rocked it. So one of the things I love about Alicia, as you guys know, she's a founder. She's building a really cool project that I'm excited for you guys to hear about. But she's also a really good listener. So I love to have her in rooms where she doesn't even need to speak. Just take it in, and then let's do your post-mortem later. Let me hear what you have to say. What did you notice? And she just pays very close attention to those things. So I thought, what better person to give you guys, since we spent a lot of time talking about ground game here, she got dropped into an environment where she had to be very, very adaptive and very quick to react to an entirely new culture. Let me just kind of, give you a backdrop here. How many of you guys have spent most of your lives in a predominantly Judeo-Christian culture? Okay? I'm not asking if you're religious. I'm asking if the country that you live in, you grew up in, is predominantly Judeo-Christian, which the vast majority of the Western world is, pretty much exclusively, right? So then you get dropped into a country and an area of the world which is not that at all. In fact, it's Islamic. So everything shifts in the cultures. And by the way, the Arabs know their way around hospitality, don't they?
Do they ever? Holy
It
cow.
was unbelievable how well we were treated. It was incredible. And you could see that is their way of beginning trust, is to bring you in and to give you experiences almost like a brother or a sister would. It's next level. When it's done right, it's pretty next level. The other side of that, though, is they're not very trusting. And so there was an individual that came to the Raise fundraising summit that we did. He's raised $650 million in his career, and he was like, Kurt, I believe there's a thing called the 11 levels of trust. I don't remember what all they are, and I should probably do a session on them breaking down. First is I might be willing to do a coffee with you, and 11 is, I'm naming my children after you, and 10 is probably I wrote you a very large check. But the reason I think this is instructive, guys, is when you're in the desert and you don't have anyone you can trust and there's no resources, which is the way that these cultures grew up, right? Trust is everything, because it literally means survival. And I would ask you to think about your network as survival for your venture. And so I think you can come up with a very practical reason to actually start looking at your people skills if you want to win friends and funders. Most founders really need to honestly take another look at Dale Carnegie's work with how to win friends and influence people, because there's some severely lacking social people skills when it comes to dealing with people that might write you a check. Okay, so what has come to mind for you when it comes to GITEX, this whole experience? And I know it wasn't all positive either. There was a lot of man, it was crazy. It was just freaking crazy.
Well, I'd like to start out by saying, first of all, I love this concept of a ground game. I never really heard it articulated this way, but I would say after like listening to all this, that I owe my ground game to Vegas, right? I spent a good decade in the wedding and event space in Vegas, and doing that, like you're out shaking hands and kissing babies at all the things all the time. Like you get your reps in, right? When it comes to peopling, as I like to call it. When it came to the opportunity for GITEX, it was kind of like on my radar, but I wasn't sure whether or not it was like a good fit for me to show up with my founder hat on, because I wasn't sure. My whole project has to do with love and helping people recover from heartbreak, and here I am going into a country where it's not necessarily legal to love everyone in this way.
Public displays of affection are frowned upon, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's like illegal to love doesn't necessarily win over there. So I didn't know if I wanted to go with my founder hat on, but when all else fails, what I've learned is that if you can show up and be of service, then you're helping uplift things anyway. So I decided to go over as an ambassador, and that was how I was able to then just sort of take off my founder hat, still saw through the lens of a founder, but I was able to put on my like events ground game
Framer hat, yeah.
yeah, something. So that was the way in which I went over, was to be of service to these founders. I know what it's like to, on both sides of the fence, both to run an event and how difficult it can be, and then what it's like to be a founder and what their expectations would be. So that's how I ended up there in the first place, just for context. And no, it wasn't easy, but it's like the lesson that I sort of learned right out the gate was like, if we can't overcome what it may or may not be perceived as challenging right out the gate, then like, are we not founders? It's not going to be easy no matter where we go. So it was a real exercise in learning how to like rise above issues and help people sort of get through what it was that they were.
I think there were so many wonderful experiences we had, but I know that, and we don't need to get into all of them, but I know that there was many like, oh, I won't do that again. Things. And I guess I want to ask all the founders here, or the people that are investing in founders here, how valuable is I won't do that again? I think it's extremely valuable, right? Yes, raised hands. Thanks for the honesty.
Yeah.
Geez, like that's one thing I don't like about ventures sometimes. Everybody acts like everything, especially on the funder side. They don't want to admit how many mistakes they made or how many times they've flushed money down the toilet. I'm like the worst offender. But again, it's like, oh, okay, well, I won't do that again.
Yeah. But
founder swears to me that if I just wire them that $600,000, they're going to be fine. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm good. Capital is my problem, Kurt. I'm like, no, you don't have a capital problem. You have a customer problem. You don't have any. No, and then I get a call on Monday saying, we're short on payroll. I'm like, you've had 72 hours. What happened to I'm good no matter what, right? Okay, I guess I won't wire that founder again. Okay, GITEX. What else did you get from that?
GITEX, one of the things, like I've been a student of fundraising, I would say probably for the last 2 years, I would say in depth, right? And so one of the things that we've learned so much in all of fundraising is that it comes down to relationships, authentic relationships, people that you can trust, all these things. So one of my biggest takeaways was that applies on a global scale. Like it doesn't matter where you are. You can be doing doing business in Vegas, or you can be doing business in Dubai, and it still has to do with trust, and it still has to do with who you know. So the importance of, Kurt said earlier, like, it's going to be easier to raise necessarily in your own town because people can see who you are and how you show up, and it's consistency over time. And so one of those things that you need to learn to do is sort of hotwire those relationships to the best of your ability when you are going overseas. But I don't think you can life hack or sidestep the fact that the common denominator is that all of these relationships need to develop over time.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the, and hopefully with the matching technology we're building on the sponsorship side, on the grant and federal contract side, on the venture and angel side, and also on the family office side, that will reduce a lot of the friction, and it will start to shorten the time frames under which this happens. But guys, like, a human being is still writing you a check. And it's not going to be AI that's writing the majority of checks anytime soon. There's going to be smaller allocations. Sure, when I started doing fintech and I was doing loans for startups and we were using credit facilities, credit cards, credit lines, those kinds of things to fund, in the beginning it was all manual. Most of the banks are doing it manually. So an actual underwriter's looking at the files. And towards the end of the time that I was focused on innovating in that space, I started seeing automatic, robotic things that I have no doubt now are AIs, where there's a gate on that underwriting process and you're getting automatically accepted. But that's for credit cards. That's not for $500,000 checks into venture, right? Where there's no recourse or whatever, right? So just want to remind you that. I'm also going to make a prediction. If you guys know Alicia, you can tell me what you think about this. So you're going to say, well, duh, Kurt, everybody gets funded through somebody else. Sure. But my prediction is that Alicia, because of her skill set around relationships and building relationships and showing up with a bottle of wine to the party, she always asks how she can help. She's never above being the janitor. And everybody needs to operate that way, I think, when it comes to adding value to other people, is, how can I actually show up and add value? So again, me coming with a gift, whether it's tangible or intangible, to build a relationship is me leading with value. And sometimes people are beyond surprised because they don't see it coming. Now, maybe that doesn't mean we're ever going to do business, but they will not forget. So another thing I like to do, guys, is I like to deliver experiences. And I like to leverage somebody's family. There's nothing they care more about their family. So I say, if I genuinely want to build a relationship with somebody that's could be really important, what can I do for them and their family with no ask? It's important. You can't just go with an ask and have a gift. That's tit for tat. That's not what we're talking about here. And because I have a background in entertainment and music and all these things, I have some access that I've paid for handsomely by booking many bands and artists. And so I have more than one time leveraged the Michael Bublé thing or whatever, right? I know that this gentleman's wife is probably obsessed, right? Okay, so some front row seats and some backstage passes are probably going to work out pretty well, right?
I think the same is true when it comes to Vegas, like what Ben was talking about earlier too. It's important to find these relationships and find out what people need. Sometimes when we're reaching out to people that we know are coming to Vegas, it's not necessarily easy, but it's an invitation to sort of be creative and think outside the box in terms of what you could offer to someone that would be of value that maybe we take for granted because we're just used to it and we're here. But it's things like people want to know where to eat off the strip, or even an introduction to another person of value in the city is worth it and lets that person feel like cared for. And those are the things I feel like that stick.
So I was making a point about Alicia, and I got a little sidetracked just to drive the point home. So the point I was making is that I have no doubt that Alicia will find someone that believes in her enough that they will make it their job to make sure that she gets what she needs. I can say she's done that with me, and hopefully she's seen that a little bit, but she will see that in the future. I'm willing to say it out loud because it's an intention I'm willing to set that I can create accountability for.
This is being recorded, by the way.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm just going to loop this on my Instagram.
This is what it means to be an enrolling founder. When you show up in a way that other people say, I really believe in this person, I need to make sure they get what they want, what they desire, what their goal, what their dream is, and I'm going to stand behind them. If you guys have seen my session on fundability versus backability versus bankability, this is what it means to be backable. Is when you're the kind of human being where people are like, I have to make sure that I'm a part of this journey. I have to make sure that they get what they're doing. I'm so excited about who they are, and that's the kind of person Alicia is. So that's the reason why I say a couple of people are going to make it their job to make sure that she gets the support she needs because she has made so many deposits for other people.
I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Absolutely. So there was a founder I wanted to bring here today that is the amazing personification of this. I remember when we were hot and heavy in the early days of Venture House, at Venture House 1, this person showed up and was chef. They have excellent chef skills. Now, this was really smart because they were being chef for all the investors that were staying the night before, but they didn't know that. And then the second thing they did that I just thought was like so gangster was they're like, I will mop the floors. And so when the investors were like, which founders do you need us to meet? We flew here, we trust you, who do we need to meet? And I'm like, go talk to the guy that's playing janitor right now. And they're like, the guy with the hood that's like trying not to be seen, that's over there cleaning the floors? I'm like, yeah, that founder, freaking a badass. Isn't showy, but just shows up and serves. And that was a story I will never forget, the way that particular founder showed up and was cleaning the floors and ended up getting some pretty awesome relationships out of it. Now, if I was, running the house, which I guess I am, I think that somebody showing up in that way, like if you don't have the relationships, how can you build that relationship very quickly? In understanding that events and these experiences are not easy to produce. They're often thankless jobs, they take tons of time and energy, whatever. So Alicia does this out of the goodness of her heart, but there's a reason why she's so close with so many of the ecosystem builders here in the city, is because she plays very well with everyone. So again, going back to the hooded founder that decided that they were going to be of ultimate service and do a job that most people think is beneath them. It's below most of our pay grade most days, right? But recognizing that, hey, these are marble floors and they need to be cleaned up, and they were willing to show up that way. Something I didn't forget, and we made sure that that founder got the attention that they needed for their particular project. Other takeaways from the GITEX experience before we move on?
Yeah, one thing I would say that he prompted, or like a thought that came to mind as a result of what Kurt just said, was that like when you show up and you offer to be of service and you like are willing to mop the floors and all these things, it's not without strategy that I did those things. Like even way back in the day, I remember when the Collision Conference was downtown, actually not far from here, and I'm like, I would always volunteer to like put me at your registration table. Why? Because yes, I'm helping you, but I'm also meeting everybody. So there's a strategy to...
In a world of infinite possibilities with limited resources, you make a strategic decision to be
100%.
smart about where you do your
Yeah.
service.
So I'll mop the floor, but I would also like to be at the register table after I'm done, if that's okay. So
Yeah, props, yes. There's some people clapping. I would clap to that. Yes, definitely. Absolutely. Very smart.
Yeah, but back to GITEX, I would just say like what really struck me is that it's such a global community, right? Like there are so many people that are so excited about the things that they have to offer, right? Like one of the things that we were really intent on doing was going around and visiting all the delegates from all the different countries, because GITEX dubs itself as like the CES of the MENA region, right? And so I'm like, okay, let's see what you guys have to offer. But there are many countries and different organizations that want to do business with your startups. So again, I think it's a bit of like doing some research, finding out what these people want, and aligning your messaging and so on, that you can show up and be of value.
So let me explain a little hidden superpower that all of you guys actually have. So of all the founders that came to GITEX, there was only one country that got to have their founders meet with the entire president of GITEX. And let me explain to you how important GITEX is to Dubai. GITEX is their funnel. They built GITEX and all the events that are now in Europe, in Africa, in Asia. Now they're opening up Latin America in 2027 and Brazil. The only country that they're not in is the United States. It's the only market they're not in. So they use GITEX as a funnel to pull technology, relationships, and investment back to Dubai. It's a very smart play if you understand how community works and how well events can operate if you do them properly. The American founders were the only founders that got to meet in a private room over some snacks and some drinks and stuff, and they all got a chance to explain what they were working on. And then also, took some leadership skills from the female CEO running the show. I'm willing to take in your feedback. How can we make this a better experience for you? Now, GITEX cares about this because they care about their image, and the city-state of Dubai, which is part of the United Arab Emirates, cares very much about their reputation. And guess who they care about their reputation being transmitted the best for? American founders. Why am I bringing this up? Ground game, guys. Understand that you take for granted how amazingly freaking fortunate that we are to be born on a planet where we have the most sophisticated startup ecosystems in the entire world. It is built into our DNA in the Constitution of the United States to build startups. Every other country wishes that they got to have what we have here, and a bunch of cowboy maverick investors that are willing to take a chance on your dream. God bless America. It's freaking crazy, and I love it, and I'm here for it. All right? Yes, that deserves an applause. When I'm in Italy, when I'm in Spain, when I'm in Latin America, as much as I love Latin America, they don't have the developed ecosystems that we have here. So do not take that for granted. And I can tell you how GITEX in Dubai treats our founders, how differently they look at our founders than they look at all the others. I feel embarrassed for other countries. There were some countries that had massive pavilions. They had way more founders than we had.
It was like a clown car trying to get everybody in that little bitty office, and people were like, how many more people are going to try and jam in this thing?
Yeah, it's really amazing. And so I don't want you guys to take that for granted, that we're in the greatest country in the world to build startups. I understand this isn't a perfect place. You maybe don't like what's going on in politics, economies, whatever. But you're a sovereign individual. What happens with the economy doesn't mean that's what has to be your economy. You guys saw last time I had my buddy Sanjeev, who's invested $178 million into startups, and he came here with $300. And he is a minority, and he was treated poorly in Singapore and all these other places. He says the United States is the only place where there is true meritocracy, regardless of your skin color, where you came from, where you started, where you had to start over, right? This is the only place. So I remember this every time I go somewhere else to have other experiences. I love Latin America. There's something about it that just speaks to my heart. And I'm glad I get to come home. Because this is home. So guys, in the UAE, they look at America with absolute awe. In fact, I'd even be willing to say they kind of think everybody else is lesser than them, except for the Americans. They look up to us. And in the same way, we look at Dubai and say, oh, this is amazing, and there's all this capital here. And you're overlooking the ground game opportunities you have here in this city.
Yeah, I would encourage people to just remember where you're from, too, right? Like, it's not like, and no shade to Topeka.
So wait, you're from Minnesota. Does that mean you have some daycares,
Oh, God.
You're flying private soon?
God bless my state. So pray for us. What was I going to say about that, though? Oh, well, to that point, right? Like, I go, when we're over there, the other thing that you can leverage when you're anywhere not home, it's a very exciting thing for other people to go, oh my God, you're from Vegas, right? So it's very easy to leverage that when you're out on the global stage, because you can, the next time you're in Vegas, hit me up, right? Like, I'll let you know where the good places to eat and the shows that you should go to and all these things. Like, people just want, pardon? Yes, connection. People want connection at the end of the day, and that's what you're offering them, is to feel like they have a person on the inside.
So the United States is by nature more trusting when it comes to capital than the UAE is. So if we're going to look at these two amazing desert, hospitality cities, the United States is way more open because this is what we do. We have set the pace, we have set the standard, and we have set the example when it comes to startups in the world. And so I want you guys to not overlook that when you're thinking about it. Yeah, we take Vegas for granted as an example. And the fact that people are willing to drop what they're doing to come here says something. I think it's hilarious. When I had a fancy place in Park City, Utah, where I'm from, and people could come visit, they'd only come if it was Sundance. But the minute I moved to Vegas, I always kept an extra bedroom or 5 open for all the people that are willing to come to our city. And so again, I want to ask you, how are you leveraging that? As amazing as Dubai is, there's many things they deal with that we don't have to here. Like, we don't have real traffic here. They have real freaking traffic there. And they're one of the cool things, if you look at the skyline right here, that's the reason I included this, this is constantly reinventing itself. This skyline doesn't stay the same. I'm sure you'd love this as a builder. And it's very inspiring to watch. But I miss Vegas when I'm there. There's no mountains, and flat land gives me anxiety, right? I need to have mountains to go mountain biking. But it got me thinking how much we as Americans embracing our innovator, pioneer past. How much are we thinking about how much we're keeping up with what's going on in the world, right? With AI and all these different things. I think we're falling behind, guys. I think we are asleep at the wheel. I think there are other countries that would love for us to be at each other's throats and not paying attention to how we can innovate and how we can serve. And if you're like, well, why do we ever even talk about politics? Because politics affects fundraising and economies 100%. There's a reason I study this stuff. There is a reason I pay attention to it. Because I want to see where the shifting winds are, where the power is. Any other last thoughts?
Yeah, I actually love that you put that picture up there with the helicopter, because I just want to remind everybody that, like, these points of connection, like, go both ways, right? I was running around texting someone, and somebody, one of my friends from Vegas was like, our buddy John happens to be doing music for one of the exhibits at GITEX, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, cool, have him send me his information, blah, blah, blah. We went on a walking tour right after we got out of the office with Trixie and everyone at GITEX. And they go, oh, it's booth 21, whatever the heck it was. He was in that booth. My friend from Vegas was the one that was producing the music that was in that booth. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, look for those synchronicities and look for those connections that go both ways. Because we're citizens of the world and because people from Vegas are constantly on the move, like, tap into that stuff.
All right, thank you, Alicia, so much, very much. Okay, next up, we have some of my very good friends and partners, Mr. and Miss Melventine and Michelle Valentine. Did I just say Melventine? Is that what I just said? Gosh. Okay, you guys need to go back and forth and share this mic. If you guys don't know the Valentines, you need to get to know them. As with all capital, there is different pros and cons when you're dealing with capital. How many of you guys feel like when you have heard about the capital categories, right? There's public and gov funds, there's debt, there's equity, and then there's what I call raised revenue or sponsored capital. How many of you guys feel like you're experts in public funding? You need to hold both microphones when you're talking, sorry. If the answer is not yes, there's a reason I mentioned public and gov funds first. It's your taxpayer money. Is there any other place that you think, as a founder, and if you don't believe this, you shouldn't be a founder, is there any other place you think the government should be giving some of the money that it's taking from us in taxes than to back to innovators that create many times a return on capital? This is not something the government is capable of doing other than in very specific slices, by the way, guys. Government cannot create anything it doesn't first take from us. They work for us. Let's remember that. These guys are experts in government funding. That's what they've done for many years. I think you guys know, and they're going to talk a little bit about some of what they've done in Northern Vegas and talk about the project at Jackson Ave. And then they kick some ass at CES. So they're going to talk about their experience here in our hometown just last week. This is Miss Michelle. Say hi, guys.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. All right. I'm Michelle Valentine. This is my husband, Melvin Valentine Jr., and together we co-own Valentine Strategy Consulting, and we're working on two major projects right now, as of now, here in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's all about the revitalization of the West Side, the historical West Side, and we're really passionate about bringing technology to this project. Again, we're super excited about that. The second project that we're working on is in California, and we sit on the board of the Applied Innovation Economic Development Center, and it's all around designing and building a tech park at our alma mater where we met, right? We met in college, and we're going to be building this tech park on campus. Because of that, we're putting together a super team of professionals and partners, and we're going to be building out an opportunity zone fund, right? And for those of you who don't know what an opportunity zone fund is, all it is the rich, the wealthy, right? They get a tax break, and they're able to take their money and now identify an opportunity zone, whether it be a rural community or urban community, right? And now identify those grassroots businesses, companies that want to, that need help growing their business, and they park their money in these grassroots companies and businesses, and now they're able to get equity, right, in these small grassroots businesses, and it's just a win-win for everyone, right? So I kind of want to shift and talk about, because we don't have a lot of time, right?
No, we would go for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I want to shift and talk about the importance, right, of these conferences. And last week was CES, the CES Tech Conference, right? Did anybody go, or did you guys go? Yeah, okay, good. So
It was great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You guys have a great experience?
I just want to reiterate how important that is for us. Whenever we have like resources coming to our own backyard, we need to take advantage of that, right? I mean, it's so much uncertainty in the world today, and we need to create our own opportunity, right? So I would say when you're going to these conferences, really be intentional, right? Really be intentional on the value that you want to extract from this experience. So come up with your goals, come up with your daily agenda on things that you want to accomplish. So say if you are attending a conference and it's a 5-day conference, well, come up with a strategy. Maybe you get 2 contacts a day, right? And by the end of that conference, you now have 10 people in your funnel, right? In your network funnel that you didn't have before. And so I know maybe some of us are like, oh yeah, I always go to conferences and they're just here to make money off of us. Well, that is true, right? But we need to be intentional. We need to have, our own frame, our own goals that we want to achieve and really make it happen for ourselves.
So we can make money with them. They can make money with us.
Right, exactly. And so I know my experience last week, I was super excited about CES. It actually was my first time attending CES. And you could have paid me to know that I would have the experience to meet the Korean government, right? And now with all of our projects that I just mentioned, my husband and I, we were able to sign our first MOU with a Korean startup, our very first Korean startup tech company, right? And so I was just blown away. Like I said, the energy and the work and the commitment and the consistency that we've been putting out here came back full circle when we met them. We're a family business, right? We all know how hard that can be sometimes, but on the flip side, it's very rewarding, and they were also a family business startup. So it was just a lot of synergy there, and it started here, Tech Alley, right? When we were located on the other side, the other building, and we met Kurt, a friend of ours, asked us to come in and, sit on a panel. I forget what we were talking about. We were talking about something.
Money.
Oh, money. Okay, yeah. It was something else too, but I can't remember. Anyway, this is where we met Kurt, and everybody knows he's a great connector, people connector, right? People from all different walks of life. I mean, my husband and I are sitting here. You guys are here. It's amazing how he connects people together, right? And really gives everyone the opportunity to shine, right? He pinpoints your strengths and helps you along the way with your weaknesses. And I just think that's a wonderful thing, a gift that he has.
Thank you.
And we definitely appreciate him as a family. And like I said, we started here. I'm going to give him Mike.
Well, I was just going to say, Melvin pinpoints my weaknesses.
That's okay. That's okay. We need people like that, right?
Yes,
so
we do.
can grow,
We do.
right?
Feedback, right?
But we started again, Tech Alley, and I don't know how you guys are feeling about Tech Alley, or maybe, okay, we come here every Saturday, kind of do the same thing. I don't know. Maybe you enjoy it, but maybe it's, you haven't gotten what you wanted to get from Tech Alley. I'm saying consistency is key, right? Consistency. And then before you know it, you'll look up and you will be exactly where you need to be. I mean, who would have thought, right? In 3 years, we will be building a tech park, like leading that. Like, that is so amazing to me. I'm excited, nervous, happy, elated, and I'm just, glad to be here. So,
Mr. Melvin, I've got a question for you. So Melvin and I do this thing. We're getting better and better and better at it, where we're learning exactly what our language is. He's even taught me in the last couple of days. There was a situation that happened and I didn't see. I have the eyes to see it. And he said, let me break it down for you. Let me explain. And he sees these things with such granularity. It was a great teachable moment for me to receive that I just wasn't aware of it. So one of the things I want to talk about, we do these huddles sometimes before we're going to go meet a government or something. And one of the things I want Melvin to speak on, both for the Valentines as a family and as Valentine's strategy, is the importance of brand. This is something that Melvin and Michelle care very much about. They work very, very, very hard, and they want to make sure that anytime there's an opportunity to add value, it's also conveyed with a brand behind it that is very understood as to what the values are of that particular brand. Now, this is so important because as we start to do more media and all these other things, we're going to be communicating what that brand is. And my definition of brand, and he's going to tell us what his definition is, the brand is the promise you make to people, and it's also what people say about you when you're not in the room, right? Now, you don't control what everybody says about you, but you control what quite a few people are going to say about you based on that brand that you establish. And so what I like is that the Valentines are always reminding us what is the experience we want to produce and how is that going to reflect on the brand and what's the right angle, what's the ground game to approach this situation where the brand is reflected properly.
Yeah, thank you for that. So my wife and I, we met at Cal State San Bernardino in communication. She has a public relations degree. I have a human communications degree. So, and ironically, growing up in the streets and having street smarts and being in situations where if you don't read the body language correctly, you can lose your life, right? A fake smile, a fake handshake. You need to be able to detect these things, right? So, growing up in those environments gives you hypervigilance. And ironically, like I was watching Andrew Bustamante, and he was talking about how the CIA actually hires for anxiety. So all these years, I knew I had something, but I didn't realize from a CIA standpoint, it was a superpower that they don't even want you in the room if you're not constantly tracking and seeing all the different things that are going on in the social setting. So meeting Kurt and then just kind of having that dialogue with him as he, as an explorer, came to the hood, came to the west side, so here comes this white man here with all this knowledge and growth and genuine heart, had all the best intentions, but I was letting him understand it's not about right or wrong. Perception is reality, right? So when you walk into a social environment, you have to know how others perceive you because that's going to impact how they treat you, and that's going to impact how effective you're going to be in the environment, right? So,
And put this in the lens of when you're in front of investors, as he continues to share, just be thinking about what's the perception that you're providing to an investor. This is something founders, like, they forget all people skills when they get in front of somebody who's got money. It's ridiculous. And so, again, I think that this is a really good, I mean, you should be an authentic and real person and kind, I think, at all times. But especially be thinking about, this is a test. Every time you're in front of an investor, it's a test. They're basically saying at a human level, can I trust you?
yeah, I mean, it gets down to the point where you can, I mean, little things like, I mean, how fast the person's blink rate is can be a tell of if they're lying to you, right? So if you're having a conversation with somebody for 5 minutes and you pay attention to how often they blink, and then in that conversation, you're asking them questions and all of a sudden they start blinking faster, that's generally a tell that they're full of shit, right? So it's little things like that that I grew up on the streets knowing and understanding and was taught. And then you get to college and then they take that knowledge to a whole nother level, right? Because it's like, oh, I'm in class learning stuff that, you know, 90% of communication is nonverbal and all these different things and that perspective. So, you know, Kurt being able to, it's just been completely a cultural exchange because he's brought us into his world, understanding the venture capital space, private investment, what their mindset is, what they're thinking about, how they see the world, how they see the reality, us being able to process that and then bring both perspectives to both worlds. And we found the perfect business model to take all that intellectual capital, which is this Opportunity Zone Fund that for 3 years we've been working on this investment thesis on how both of these knowledge bases could come together. And we felt that the Opportunity Zone Fund is the perfect vehicle because, like my wife was saying, that Opportunity Zone Fund, you have to be able to take your capital gains and invest it in these different underserved communities. And typically right now on a national level, a lot of them have been like leveraged like a real estate investment trust, because a lot of the individuals running these funds don't have the ground game. They don't have access to the community. They don't have the government affairs piece. They don't have the community engagement piece. They don't understand the lay of the land and how to extract the most value from the fund. You know, you don't have to just already be a business. We can import businesses in the Opportunity Zone Fund, create strategic partnerships within the community, and now your startup has a competitive advantage. So you're bringing even more value to investors than just your tech. You can also say, hey, and I have an operation that's strategically positioned in the Opportunity Zone Fund that can bring you even additional value if you choose to invest in my company. So that's what 3 years of tough conversations on both sides, holding each other accountable, iron sharpens irons, to be able to create an opportunity now where both worlds can benefit. And we can unite the nation right now, right? Because we need to see both communities, all people come together. We're all Americans.
Yeah.
If any country, God forbid, storms these shores, they're not going to be like, oh, well, you're black or you're Asian. Like, no, I promise you, I tell our community all the time, just travel abroad as a black person from America, and even when you go to Africa, the Africans look at you as an American first, right? And that is the real reality. If you here in America with that citizenship, everybody sees you as American first. And that comes with a lot of baggage, some good and some bad. And that's your global identity. And that needs to be prioritized. And we think this Opportunity Zone Fund can set the tone at a time where these two worlds need to come together.
So not all the conversations that we've had have always been heavy when I've had some teachable moments from Melvin. I remember, you guys know I'm a huge fan of transformational training and those frameworks, and it's a really tough environment because whatever you're stuffing, whatever you're hiding, whatever you're running away from, whatever you don't want to deal with, it comes up in the training room, and it's incredible to watch the change. So I remember telling Melvin, hey man, you guys got to come do this thing, and I had not even thought about what Melvin was about to say. And so before I have him share, how often do you guys actually think about the way you come across to an investor or to a key individual that could potentially bring you to the resources and relationships you need? So I say, hey man, you gotta come do this transformational training. What do you say?
So Kurt comes to the hood, like we got a $3 million STEM center. We're teaching everybody, drones, cybersecurity, hydroponics. We're just trying to expose our people to the innovation economy. So I introduced this new white guy. He's around the STEM center. He's going around telling all the blacks, you got to come to the woods with us, and we got to change your brain and change your mind and transform. And they're coming up to me like, is this guy from Get Out? It's like a Get Out movie or something, right? But I know Kurt has the best intention. He really believes in transportation, but he doesn't understand how this is landing right now.
So Melvin says to me, he goes, wait a minute, you want a black man to come roll around in the woods with you? He goes, because historically speaking, that's not worked out.
Yeah, that isn't right.
I am dying laughing. Even to this day, I'm like, yeah, I missed the mark on that one.
Yeah, right? So that's where that dialogue and that ability to be able to have that safe space where we can talk about race relations, talk about all these different, different issues that society is having, and have a safe space where we can communicate those things and understand. I tell people all the time, I mean, if I grew up in Alabama with your family, I mean, I couldn't imagine going to a trailer park community in the Appalachian Mountains and think that I'm going to be able to pick up on all the social cues and be able to land correctly, right? So, we're all vulnerable to how we were raised and what the life experiences we were exposed to. And that's why that constant dialogue and cultural communication is so critical. And I think that's really our superpower as America. We brought so many people from so many different diverse backgrounds, and we created this superpower. And now we need to get back to that essence.
So Michelle's going to share something. When I want to share another story about something that Melvin opened my eyes up to, as far as ground games of great leaders. We had a dialogue about 2 years ago about, I guess, praise to MLK, right? We were talking about what's the difference in the leadership style for MLK and for Malcolm X. Now, I had read material on both of them, but I had never seen Malcolm X the way that Melvin had presented. And here's what he said to me. He said, who was better for domestic affairs if one was president, and who had a better international game, right? Coming back to ground game. And I was like, wow, yeah. Okay, I get your point. Your point is Malcolm X is going to probably carry a big stick, which is obviously what Trump has chosen to do right now. And MLK might have been a little bit softer and a little bit more approachable for the domestic side of of running the country. Or they had different strategies, different outcomes.
Well, and how I framed it to him was, okay, Black America as a nation inside of a nation. What Malcolm X was basically teaching us is that you need to be self-sufficient, right? Self-reliant, practice group economics, be able to have your dollar circulate in your community. Don't be a welfare state reliant and dependent on other groups of nations to take care of you.
Because no one's coming to save you. And as a startup, how many of you guys know and realize and recognize that no one is coming to save your venture? And clap for that, please, yes, because that's super important.
Yeah, and then Martin Luther King was teaching us foreign relations, saying, okay, we need to be able to navigate and work with white America in a productive, effective way to reach our goals and agendas. And sometimes those perspectives of what priorities were first clashed, but ultimately in every group, right, that conversation of how you relate to others and how self-sufficient you are, it's just nature and the way of life, right? So, and once Kurt really kind of seen that dynamic from that particular lens, it changed his perspective on, Malcolm X. Because if you get a few different sound bites, it can land a little bit different if you don't really understand the rationale or the mindset of the self-sufficiency.
Michelle?
Well, I just wanted to speak to my founders and funders. If you guys are feeling a little bit fatigued out there, I wanted to leave you with this passage. And it says, consistency looks like nothing is happening until everything changes, right?
Yeah.
And I just experienced that last week, so I just wanted to share that, leave that with you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
And can I translate that for us? So in the hood, we say, stay down till you come up.
Right.
Like that's the key. Stay down until you come up, right? Like, and that dedication and that commitment of staying down till you come up, you will make it.
What was eye-opening, just in closing real quick, guys, what was eye-opening about CES for you guys? What was, because you guys have been in the city for a long time,
Yes.
How do you think people should be looking at experiences like this? And there's industry vertical stuff for you guys. It doesn't need to be CES, and it doesn't even need to be a convention. It could be a meeting, it could be an event, it could be anything that Vegas has to offer, or any of the neighboring states even, I would say. Because the Rocky Mountain region does have a lot, the same people that colonized Las Vegas colonized Utah and Arizona. So there are a lot of cultural similarities in the way that things are. Just look at the grid system. You know, the grid system is not a guarantee in the United States, but that's what the Rocky Mountain region has. We have square streets.
Well, well, what it made me realize was the value in this strategic partnership, because once again, we've been here for 12 years. We never even went to CES, right? Yeah. And Kurt comes here and says, yeah, you're going to come over here with us, and you're going to work with the Korean government. We're like, okay, right? So so complete cultural exchange, but once we got there, we seen the genius that is Kurt, because the company that my wife is talking about, he introduced us to him, and it makes sense, right? They're a Korean company that's doing a basketball AI app where you basically the AI records the game, and then at the click of a button, your highlight reel comes up. So Kurt and his genius understood, look at this cultural exchange right here. These Koreans are trying to get into the American market. He knows our culture is, I just got done playing basketball that morning, right? So the connection was immediately there. We seen the penetration, we seen the value, and once he exposed us to Eureka Park, and we go in there and we see France, and we see Germany, and we see Italy, and we see Japan, and we look at around and we don't see Africa, we don't see HBCUs. So we took it as a moral duty and obligation, like there was no black presence, and that's not a victim story, that's our responsibility and accountability, right, as black leaders here in an international city that's having the biggest show of technology, and our people are not on that stage. We immediately left there, start calling congressmen, start calling city council folks, call the urban chamber, like, what are we doing as Black Las Vegas, right? We need to work with the African Pavilion right now. We need to get on the phone right now with HBCUs to make sure by next year our people are represented at the global stage. And we also think, in conclusion, that there's a tremendous value add to the tech world as far as, you know, I just had a meeting with UNLV Blackfire about this. You know, the reality is technology and innovation is moving so fast that in the historic West Side, no, I don't think in the next 8, 9, 10 years, I mean, the next 3 years, we take 2, 3 years, we're just gonna be pumping out engineers. But what we could do right now is build a lean, mean team of go-to-marketing squads, business development teams that partner with founders to do your ground game, to execute that, right? Because there's a unique skill set that comes along with navigating the hustle, because that's what it is. You got to have some hustle about yourself. And the same way that you have a superpower that we may not want to be stuck at that screen, staring at that screen for 20 hours, breaking down all that math, you may not want to go talk to 100 people, right? Those are two different skill sets, mindsets, and that's where that value of that cultural exchange can come into play.
You have any final thoughts, Michelle?
Yeah. Like I said, I just was so excited and elated to be there, but I would like to see more engagement between the blacks in Las Vegas and the whites in Las Vegas concerning, you know, around these conferences. I don't know how we, you know, start that engagement, but we definitely need it. So it doesn't look like we're just, you know, on the opposite side, because we need each other, you guys. I mean, there's opportunities are becoming more and more scarce, and we really need to stick together and tie flags and just get stuff done. My husband would say get shit done, but you know, it sounds funny coming from me. So get stuff done, you know. So I like to see
I want to
that.
drive this point home real quick. I don't know if you guys consider yourself patriotic. We have some pretty confidential conversations that we have with the White House and with DC and with the Pentagon, but I can tell you the Pentagon's biggest concern is not other countries, it's us tearing each other apart.
Yes.
And being distracted with this bread and circus stuff. You know, the Roman emperors, when they wanted to distract all the people from rioting and creating mutiny, they gave them the gladiators. They gave them sport. They gave them what was called bread and circus, basically a little bit of food and a little bit of shows to distract them. And guys, I'm being very serious right now. This is happening in the world. There are other countries that do not want you to be successful. They think in order for them to win, United States must fall. That's not true, but that is the way that the game is being played right now. And so I think that if that helps you to rededicate yourself to taking this startup mission, this journey that you're on more seriously, please do it. Thank you, Mr. Melvin.
Can I say one last thing?
Absolutely.
One last thing, just off piggyback off of that. You know, I think it's time for us to unite, because I have a theory, and I've been telling Kurt this for years. Like, the whole world, the ghetto is expanding. It's growing, right? It's like they figured out, some powerful people practiced on the black community, and now some of those same social trends that were present in the black community are growing to other communities, and that's concerning, right? I have more white guy friends that have more baby mama drama than all my black friends, right? Like, and that's a concern, right? That those things were present in our community, and now it's growing and expanding. The fentanyl crisis, right? Those things are happening in other communities. We were dealing with crack back in the 80s. So some of these issues are expanding to other communities, and it's time for us to unite and navigate those spaces, because we have something to offer to bring to the table on how to navigate the struggle and overcome adversity.
Thank you very much, Valentine's. So excited to see what we continue to do.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Your first is there.
You want a hug?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Okay. All right, guys, I put this picture up here. How many of you guys think this is pretty cool? All right. I think that this is a pretty inspiring picture. This is the kind of thing, anything's possible here in our city, here in Las Vegas, and that's the reason I put that up there. It's just pretty incredible how innovative and unique and different our city actually is. So for some of you guys don't know, we have a lot of amazing partnerships. If you guys have wanted some support in building your software code, we have a partnership with CodeLaunch, Mr. Jason at CodeLaunch. He's an exited founder, and as he got bought by a very large company, they decided to launch a contest. This contest is an accelerator. It's free, there's no fees, and there's no equity. You join, you have to sign up this month. If you guys have friends, I'm telling you, they need to sign up for this too. So do me a favor, since we want to support CodeLaunch. They were a sponsor of some of our events last year. And get with me, I'm happy to help them, but they must sign up this month. The deadline's coming, so you got 10 days. I want to get 100 founders to sign up for this experience. So what happens is you go into an online accelerator, and then from there you get chosen to be in group hackathons. And then after that, they bring everyone to a final showdown, and the person that wins gets all their software built. And I know you guys are like, I can vibe code stuff. Yeah, you can vibe code it to 70%. You still need software developers to actually build a finished product. Anybody that's actually done a lot of tech and software building knows that. So come hang out with us and get set up for this if you want to get your code built. And last but not least, here we go. If you guys want to connect, that's me on LinkedIn. I'm going to be doing a lot more content as it pertains to capital this year. That's my mission. 2 things. Become best in the world at capital content and really understand how media and content work. This is something I've been working towards for a long time, so I'm willing to say it out loud. Number 2, best in the world at capital matching technology. So we are constantly working on what does that look like, and we're several iterations in. So absolutely. So guys, it takes a pro to hit a target that nobody else can hit. But it takes a genius to hit a target that nobody else can see. What are you not seeing in your ground game? That was said by James Sexton. I was like, wow, that is really good. What are you not seeing in your ground game? Welcome to Who's Got My Money, guys. Come down and get a group picture.